We're coming to you from the Alisa Hotel, Accra, Ghana, where the AAU Television is partnering with PASGR, and PASGR is Partnership for African Social and Governance Research, based in Nairobi, Kenya, to bring you the Pedagogical Leadership Training, the Western Hub session hosted by the University of Ghana. And today we are privileged to have the host university represented by Dr. Antoinette Tsiboe Darko, and she's going to share with us her PedaL journey and what has really gone into hosting the PedaL session in Accra, Ghana. Don't forget to join the conversation via our social media platforms, Association of African Universities on Facebook, AAU_TV on Twitter, and you can also join us via our TV website, and that is tv.au.org. We'll go for a short break, and when I return, I will let you know who my guest is, and the show continues. My name has always been Kwesi Sam. Stay tuned.
Botswana Accountancy College is a business school that was set up over 2 decades ago to contribute towards the human capital development in Botswana and beyond. BAC has over 20 years diversified its product portfolio to offer accounting, business, leisure, management, and ICT-related programs at undergraduate and postgraduate levels, as well as consultancy short courses to augment professional skills. In achieving this diversification, the college has partnered with UK-based universities of Derby, Sunderland, and Sheffield Hallam University, as well as professional bodies such as SEMA, Beaker, AAT, ACCA, CIA, Cisco, Microsoft, SAP, ESA, and SIPS, to allow our graduates to have a globally recognized qualification and be globally competitive. To learn more about BAC, contact us on 3953-062 in Gaborone or 241-0558 in Francistown, or visit our website on www.bac.ac.bw. Also, you can visit our social media pages on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. BAC, celebrating over 20 years of creating business leaders.
Welcome back from the break. If you just tuned in, you are still watching AAU Television, and we are coming to you from the Alisa Hotel, Accra, Ghana, and we are privileged to be hosting Dr. Antoinette Tsiboe Darko from the University of Ghana, the host nation for the Western Hub training of the pedagogical leadership in Africa. And she's going to share with us her PedaL journey and everything PedaL today. You're welcome to AAU Television, Doc.
Thank you, Kwesi.
Great. How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Great. I am super excited to host you today because I've watched you from afar and the good works that you've been doing at UG and even with PedaL. But before we even go into the discussion, we want to center the first part on you, getting to know much more about you, and most importantly, you moved from industry to academia, which is sometimes very rare in the academic setting. What really inspired you, or what really kind of informed your decision to move from industry to academia?
Okay. So when I finished my first degree, I finished with the first class.
Okay.
And you know how...
That's a shock.
Yes. No, not a shock. But you know how when you finish with the first class in a very high grade point, you are more or less being moved into the academic field. And then when I did my national service, I was privileged to work with a very amazing woman, Professor Adefio Shandov. Okay. So she insisted actually that I apply to do a master's almost immediately. So I did that. And then I even became more passionate about going into academia. Okay. But when I came back to the University of Ghana, I was faced with a block, more or less, because the University of Ghana said you had to get a PhD first before you be allowed to lecture. And actually, this is what sent me into industry. Okay. So just about that time, I got a project in the mining sector. And I had this strong passion for communities that are being affected by mining. I always had this opinion that communities are not able to get the best out of the resource because they are not able to negotiate well.
Absolutely.
So I found myself in a project that was funded by the European Union, and more or less was to reform the mining sector in Ghana. And that's how I ended up in industry. After the project, I got a mining company that now employed me to do a lot of their community work for them. So that's how I stayed in industry.
For how long?
For almost 6 years.
Oh, great.
And it was flexible because I had a family at that time, and I didn't want to be doing an 8 to 5, which I thought was a bit worrying sometimes. So it was very flexible. I could work from home and send in my reports, and when I had to go to the mine site, I would plan my time on using the children's holidays So I stayed in industry more or less also because it was convenient, it was flexible. But after 8 years, so about 6 years, and I probably stayed about for 2 years in between jobs doing consultancies. And then in 2010, I decided I really want to go back, do my PhD and go straight back into academia. So I did my PhD till 2014. And in 2015, just when I was graduating, the University of Ghana gave me a position as a research fellow, and I grabbed it. So that's how I ended up in academia again.
Great. So how has the journey been teaching in the university, comparing that to that of your former job?
Yeah. Well, teaching in the university, I love teaching.
Okay.
So I must first admit that. But I think one of the mistakes that I made is I assumed everything about working in academia was teaching. But academia these days is also a lot about research. How much research can you do? So in terms of the key performance indicators, I have been weak in my research. Because I'm passionate about teaching, I think I put a lot more effort into my teaching. I want my students to get to really appreciate and understand what they are being taught, you know. So I think one of the things that I probably did not really investigate and find out well was the university gives you a job as a research fellow. And you're supposed to do 75% research, 25% teaching. If they give you a job as a lecturer,
that's very skewed.
Yes, very skewed. If they give you a job as a lecturer, then you do 75% teaching and 25% research. So if I had really sat and thought through, probably I'd have applied as a lecturer.
Okay.
But I applied as a research fellow. So now I'm supposed to build a stronger portfolio in research, whilst my love is really in teaching. Yes. Okay. So that has been one of the I mean, my journey in academia now is really what do I then end up doing. But I'm balancing it. I'm doing my research and I'm still making sure that I do my teaching and I enjoy what I do. So basically that has been it. Yeah.
All right. So let's go into the PedaL journey. We know that University of Ghana is one of the partnering institutions for PedaL.
Very soon.
How did you join PedaL and why did you join it? The entire beautiful experience.
Okay. So the Partnership for African Social and Governance Research runs the Masters in Research and Public Policy. And the center where I work in the University of Ghana, the Center for Social Policy Studies, hosts this program on behalf of the University of Ghana. Okay. So the center represents the University of Ghana in the partnership with PASGR. Okay. So we were invited to join the PedaL project right from inception. From when PASGR was writing for the grant, our university had to send information. So we were a partner to writing for the grant. So once a grant had been won, we're also a partner to implement. So we're partner through the design, we're partner through the formation, through the initial meetings, design, pilot, and then finally when we launched the central training. So that was the University of Ghana's joining the whole PedaL project, represented by the Center for Social Policy. I coordinate the Masters for Research and Public Policy. So every communication between the University of Ghana and the Center for Social Policy Studies comes to me. So once I coordinated MRPP, when the PedaL project began, I was elected, or let me say nominated, chosen without any argument by the then director for the center to also be the coordinator for PedaL. So I took it up and I saw it as an amazing opportunity. So that is how I got to be representing the University of Ghana on the PedaL project.
Great. So most of the time when we see a tree flowering, we don't know what goes into the processes. All that we know is that there are flowers and we want to plug it. I believe that PedaL has gone through a lot of processes. It hasn't been that easy from the inception stage, the design of the models and everything. You know, we tell our story, but can you share with us how the journey was, the struggles, and some of the difficult moments?
It was interesting because I remember when we first started PedaL, it was just around the time when Kenya had been, you know, PedaL is funded by the Strategic Partnership for Higher Education and Innovation. And when we started the PedaL journey, Kenya at the time had that election violence, etc. So Kenya was a no-go zone. British Council had put red alert. So we had to move all meetings to Dar es Salaam. traveling to Dar es Salaam is beautiful and it's nice.
Sure.
But traveling to Dar es Salaam from
Stressful.
Ghana is very stressful, you know. And I can remember once doing the Ethiopian Airlines trip. So you go to Addis Ababa. I hadn't been to Addis Ababa before. So you fly to Addis Ababa and you come back. And then on the return journey, we were so delayed in Dar es Salaam. And I knew that by the time I get to Addis Ababa, the flight had left. So we have finally arrived in Addis Ababa. And you know, you are sitting in the plane and you can see that that plane taking off must be the one going to Accra. And I'm just missing it. So you come out. And it was one of the very bad days because I had totally not prepared for missing a flight, you know. We went to Dar es Salaam, I think 4 times. Yes, I went there 4 times in that year. Now, the Sphere Partnership does not pay for you to travel. So at certain points in time, it becomes very uncomfortable because you don't even know how to explain to people, yeah, I'm not making any income from this, but I keep taking time off. There were times when, in order not to create any problem, I actually took a leave off work because I was interested in a project and I wanted to keep it going. The University of Ghana has a policy where if you are traveling for official reasons, you are given the time off to do it. But there were times when I started to ask that, is this really official or it's getting personal? Because now I keep going and coming, and if I'm not careful, someone is also going to look and say, well, you are cutting down on your lectures, you're teaching, and etc. So there was once where I actually was on leave, but I decided to still travel, you know. So these were some of the challenges. How do you really blend in all of these meetings with my academic work? Whenever I traveled for a PedaL meeting and I came back, my teaching load didn't go away. My work was still waiting for me, exactly. And this is, which means this is time that I have to keep giving into building the PedaL project. And then again, well, so that was the first year of it. And then in the second year, it was still more traveling. So at every point in time when all the partners have to come together, I represent the University of Ghana and I had to travel. Then again, the University of Ghana is very big. It's a whole big institution. And we are talking about a project that now had to be owned by the university. How was I going to carry it from being a center project to a university-wide project? I had to take time and visit or talk to all the very necessary and important policy people. PASGR at a point came with representatives, so Dr. Beatrice Muganda and Simon came. And we did that. We went right from the VC to the Vice Chancellor, the Pro-Vice Chancellor, the head of all the social science units, the Dean. We had meetings with each of them to introduce PedaL to them, to explain what PedaL is about, before we could now start inviting participants to come to Kenya for the PedaL training. So it wasn't like there's PedaL, here we go, everybody should attend. No, it would have been taken as any other program or any other project, and people may or may not have this, but we had to do this. It was more like a sensitization and a campaign to really introduce, you know, your thoughts, your ideas, you know, and convince people. And then again, I realized that when you write letters and you send it to units and heads of units, sometimes it just gets missing in the system, and you know. So whenever there had to be a PedaL training, I developed a personal relationship with every single participant that attended from University of Ghana. So if your head of department gave me your name that you were attending, I would come to you and explain what PedaL is about. I'll explain to you what the trip is about. I'll tell you when you're going, when you're coming back out. You know, I availed myself to everybody. Ask questions. There was a time when we were traveling with Kenya Airways, and I think there was 13 or 14 of us going on the trip. And at the airport, the KQ cancelled that flight. So the following day we had to. So what I did was, when KQ cancelled, I stayed at the airport for almost 3 hours to make sure that even though they had cancelled, all my colleagues had been moved to the next flight. The following day I came back. I had to stand there to make sure, and I kept calling everybody, and I would do that so everyone knew I'll do that. I'll do it habitually. I would stand at the airport till everybody had checked in. And once everyone had checked in, for me it was like being a team leader, but it was also being like, I'm traveling with people and I have convinced them to come with me, so I need to look after them. Exactly. So I waited till everyone had checked in. I think the lady at the check-in really got upset with my insistence in making sure my team had been checked in. So what she did was, I was the very last person to finally check in. And we were flying to Dar es Salaam again, but this time with KQ.
Okay.
So what she did was, normally if you get to Nairobi, you get the next flight going to Dar es Salaam. She put me on the last flight going to Dar es Salaam, and I didn't realize it, so we had to rush. We left. So we got to Dar es Salaam. Guess what my colleagues did? They all forgot about me and they left. So we got to Nairobi rather.
Nairobi, yeah.
They forgot about me. So they arrived in Dar es Salaam. I wasn't there, and then they started worrying. Oh, she's not with us. So then I managed to get in touch with them, and I told them that they've put me on the last flight. I got to Dar es Salaam at midnight that day. Oh. You know, so these are some of the things that I put in. It's not recognized, it's not paid, but for me, it meant that this is what would make the program successful. Because I could see that, yes, behind the scenes. You can have a program, but hey, if you don't have participants, you haven't done anything, you know. And University of Ghana being a partner meant that we had to every time make our presence and our very, very effective participation felt within the PedaL project.
Great. Okay. So we'll go for a short break, and when we return, we'll move into how did you come by with the selection of the facilitators, the model designs, why did you decide on the models that you have chosen, and how the experience has been. Viewers, you are still watching AAU Television, and we are bringing you a special session from the Alisa Hotel, and that is a PedaL session. We'll go for a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back from the break. If you just tuned in, you are still watching AAU Television, and we are bringing you a special session from the Alisa Hotel, and it is the Pedagogical Leadership Training Session, brought to you by PASGR and hosted by the University of Ghana. You can join the conversation via our social media platforms, and you can also visit our TV website, tv.au.org, to catch up with all our videos and interviews that we have done and we are still doing. So, Doc, let's pick it from the model design.
Yes.
You know, most of the time when projects are outside Africa, the perception is that everything must come from there. And so someone has his money, giving it to you, so you must implement their plan. But PedaL is such that I see it as a homegrown solution. All the facilitators are Africans, they're from African universities. The models that are being designed, you could see the African issues being highlighted. How did the project give you that kind of liberty to do so, or they brought you a scope and you had to just adopt or adapt?
No, the project gave us the liberty, gave a lot of space for us to ensure that the modules that were being developed was very need-based. Okay, so we had what we call the design clinic. And during the design clinic, we had representatives from all the different social science. So, of course, it was a five social science programs was what we started initially. So from the University of Ghana, there were 5 social science programs that, of course, had the highest number of graduates, the MRPP inclusive. And from there, we had faculty who were teaching on the programs as well as other programs. And we met in Nairobi, came together. And then, of course, there was a bit of a scope. So you had to be introduced to what the whole ideology is about. Okay. But then it was very, very need-centered. So it was, what do university lecturers need? What do we need? What kind of skills do we need that would enhance our teaching? It was very much that way. So there was also a survey, there's a baseline survey that PASGR conducted, where university lecturers were asked to answer several questions, and all of that was infused, into the design. Exactly. So before we left Nairobi, in June 2018, we had more or less designed the foundation for these modules. And then PASGR must have taken it, given it to consultants, whatever, and then they built on it, because there was the need for, of course, consultants who are specialized in education in that field to then take it on from there and build it into the modules that were now delivered to us. But I think even after that, we went back in July for the pilot. And during the pilot, I was amazed at what they had transformed, what we had just put as, scratch foundations. They had transformed it into something that really looked amazing. So they ran the pilot, and the feedback was strong. We were all sitting together. We don't like this. We think this would work. Put this together here and there. And then we came back for the central training in August. And for each of them, I came back. It had transformed again. And even when I went to, so I've been part of the whole trip on each training. Every time we went for a training, it had moved even further. When we came for the central training in August, then I identified one module that I also thought, this is where I want to be. So then we start, you start to train. So PASGR had its group of facilitators who had been doing training for PASGR for several years. Yes. But I think what they also wanted to do was to broaden the facilitators so that each university could also develop its own cohort of facilitators. So I didn't know this was what was happening, but I think they asked their facilitators to spot talent. So at a point in time, I got one of the facilitators telling me, I want you to join my group. I think you have a talent there. And I said, yes, I think I'm very interested in doing education and society and using role play and simulations to teach us my something. I'm passionate about it. So then I followed that trend, So then I became more or less specialized also in teaching on that module. Yes. So I think that with the modules, feedback, teaching, even feedback from us as colleagues, doing a lot of peer observation, peer reviews, has transformed these modules now into something that I can't even explain how it has come. But what I see is what we started with, I didn't envisage it to be like this now. So now, the delivery, the content, the facilitators themselves, increasing confidence in, all of this has really, really, really made the whole PedaL project more impactful.
Sure. I mean, I've also followed the trainings that happened at Mombasa,
Ibadan, exactly.
My first was Ibadan. After one of the sessions, we did interview one academic who said he's born again in his teaching and learning methodology and processes in the classroom. But you have followed the processes and you have shared with us from Mombasa, from Ibadan to Mombasa to Accra. How has the journey been in terms of participant expectation? Do you think at every session participants' expectations are met? Do you think that they are able to go back to their universities and apply these new technologies, these new strategies and methods of teaching? What exactly do you think has come out of their training?
What I really think is PedaL has given every university lecturer 3 things. So the first thing that I think PedaL has done is giving every university lecturer the opportunity to reflect. Because once you finish your PhD, you are just thrown into the university. Teach in the classroom. Have you thought before? Do you really know what teaching is about? But the whole idea about finishing a PhD is, hey, I'm now this good in this specific field. But there's also this thing about the university that is, once you have a PhD, you should be able to teach anything.
Which is a wrong
which is really not exactly, which is really not what it should be. So I think one of the first things that PedaL has done for me and for every participant that I've spoken to, people say that it is packed, it's too many things in the shortest time and everything. But I think one of the strongest points, and I keep emphasizing, it gives you this chance to reflect, to move out of the classroom from being a teacher. You are now the student, and it takes you back. So it takes you from your very, very center. And as you teach. So over the years, I've been teaching for almost 5 years now. You become too overconfident. You become used. You become, doing by. You learn by doing. So you become very, very. And it's difficult to take criticism at a point. And of course, you're not going to take criticism from your student. I'm the epitome of knowledge. I know it all. So. It gives you this chance to step out and to think back. And for every participant, just after a first 1 or 2 sessions, you are like, I don't know it all.
Sure.
I don't know it all at all, and I really need to start thinking twice before I go and tell students or I go and talk to them like I know it all. You know, so it's this very, very good thing about reflection. Take a deep look at yourself and ask yourself that, have I always been doing it right? And it's that amazing experience that now makes you really think twice about what you do when you are, you know.
Great.
Number 2, it's also giving me confidence as a lecturer. So I was thrown into it. I fumbled in my first year. Sometimes I tell some of the students that I finished with in the first year that if you go back and you think there was something you never understood, come back because now I can talk to you better about it.
Great.
And that's the thing, because I'm friends with most of my students. But it made me more confident. I now know that when I'm delivering something to students, I can even read on their faces what they can understand and what they can understand through PedaL, because we've discussed it. So there were times when I would be in class teaching students, they probably didn't understand, but I glossed over it. I just told myself, you know what, I've done it and I've done it, let's leave it. But now I don't want to do that. I want to go back and give them the opportunity to really understand. It's giving you that chance to now know that, hey, the future of the people you are teaching actually depends on you, even if it's for that moment. And that's the third thing. So think twice about someone's future before you talk to them. So reflection, confidence, the future depends on us. For me, that's how I see it now. The future depends on us because there are more people who are unemployed. People don't just come to acquire a university degree because for the fun of it. They have all come there for a reason. What is the reason for which they have come? And do I teach them bearing in mind those reasons for which they have come? So if the learner is supposed to be the center or the key behind which I am teaching, not me being the key, so that's you teach because you think I am the teacher and I am teaching and here we are. No, it's not about that anymore. It's about every individual learner and the needs that they have brought to you and how you manage to satisfy every need. So I think these are the 3 essential things that PedaL has done, and when I speak to my colleagues, I see that same feeling resonating amongst us as we discuss what the whole PedaL project and the PedaL journey is about.
Great. We are still sitting with Dr. Antoinette Tsiboe Darko from the University of Ghana, and she's still sharing with us her PedaL journey and the way forward for PedaL. We'll go for a short break. We'll be back. Welcome back from the break. We are still at the Alisa Hotel. We are hosting Dr. Antoinette Tsiboe Darko from the University of Ghana, and she played a very key role in hosting the Western Hub training of the Pedagogical Leadership for Africa. And she has shared with us her journey with PedaL and what she thinks of PedaL in some few years to come. But Doc, we want to just run up the conversation.
Yes.
It's been exciting. I wish we had a lot of time. But let's look at the future for PedaL. What do you think is the future for PedaL, and how can we get all the universities across the continent coming on board?
Okay, so let me speak from the Ghana perspective.
Okay.
We have had in Ghana now 15 participating universities. What University of Ghana did with the help of the Office of the Pro Vice Chancellor and my center and the Directorate of Quality Assurance, we invited University of Ghana affiliates.
Okay.
And then we spread the net a little bit wider. So we had representation with the permission from PASGR and the MRPP project. So they really funded us. The worry is about when funding goes, what next?
Absolutely.
Okay, and then how do we keep these universities together? My strong belief and opinion is, if this is important and valuable, and we as academics would recognize and speak about it, we should force our universities to take it further. We should force our universities to understand that for us being just thrown into the university to teach is not always the best.
Okay.
Give us just a little bit of training. If you are already in it, it's capacity building. How do we get the universities to take this on? When I first came into academia, I was given some training. It was a 1 week, but I thought of it more as just orientation.
Sure.
It's just about how to go about it. You know, it's like you've entered first year, you go for orientation. Yes, I didn't see it as training and capacity building. So I think we need to rework a little bit of redesign some of these programs and how we offer it, so that as academics, and then for all the other universities that we have brought into it, we need to, hone in the message. When you go back, talk to your deans, talk to your heads, talk to your provost. Tell them how important this has been. PedaL is also doing the monitoring evaluation, and we are hoping that when the results come back, especially the feedback from the students, the immediate effect you cannot see, because you have students doing a 1 year master's, 2 years, But let's see those who go through lectures, university lectures that have been PedaL trained. Let them come back and tell their story. Let them come back and tell us how more employable we made them. And I tell my students, I tell them that, look, the university pays us basic salary like you earn from everywhere. My joy and my satisfaction and the remuneration I get from seeing a text message from you that says this is where I am or this is where I'm doing is far above any money or anything that I can ever get. So we are going to have to encourage our own students, tell them that I have been through the PedaL training and that is why I'm able to teach you this way and that way. And I want you to come back and tell me that did it make a difference in your life from the previous program, maybe your undergrad or some. What is the difference? Because we would have PedaL and non-PedaL trained lecturers obviously teaching. If we can use all of this to create that situation, then the university should be prepared to take PedaL on. I know PASGR is advancing postgraduate diploma, etc. in PedaL, but it's also about how many universities across the continent accept this. And funding shrinks. So we've had funding last year, this year, but next year probably won't be the same. How do we take it on? It is when we as academics and as lecturers make enough noise to make our university know that you give money for research, you give money for teaching. We want capacity building in teaching. Then hopefully that change and that desired sustainability in training programs like PedaL. There have been several training programs. Most of it, we don't know where some of them have passed. But I'm very, very hopeful and positive that PedaL is going to live long.
Thank you so much, Doc, for joining us. It's been amazing hosting you and you sharing with us your experience and what you think of PedaL as well.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to having you more, maybe in some few years to come.
I hope so, and thank you very much, Kwesi. That was nice.
Viewers, all too soon we've come to the end of our session, and we have been hosting Dr. Antoinette Tsiboe Darko from the University of Ghana and the team lead for PedaL in the Western Hub. Thanks for watching. My name has always been Kwesi Sam, but don't forget that you can join our conversations, and all our videos are on our TV website, tv.au.org. Go there, have fun, and enjoy the discussion. Leave your messages, and let's still keep African higher education moving. AAU Television is always the voice of higher education. Thank you for watching.